20% to let you know, but we should be good.
Okay, well, let's hope that we're good. All right, so you ready to go?
I am.
Okay, I already hit record. All right, today is a special episode of Adjunct Vernacular. So, just real quick, something that I want this podcast to eventually turn into is just more than just a podcast. I want this platform to eventually become somewhere where people feel comfortable enough to share their stories and things that they've been through. And today, fortunately enough, we have Jessa Furches. Now, if you don't know who Jessa Furches is, you might recognize her from that. I don't know if I can call it a meme. Um, it's the I can breathe underwater. No, you can't. And then it's like a picture of someone with a water bottle over their head, and it's just O, just the letter O. You probably know what I'm talking about. Um,
With my
this
twin.
is this is yes with her twin, and this is one half of the Furches sisters. And you have quite a story to tell. We were talking about I was listening to your story. This is the second recording that we do, and she was kind of telling me about her story, and I thought that it would be better if we came at a different angle than my usual how my episode is structured. So this is a differently structured episode. So with all that introductory stuff out of the way, Jessa, please take it away. Tell us where you're from, what's your ethnicity, what's your background.
Well, I'm from Greensboro, North Carolina. Always lived here my entire
Mhm.
life. I am white, and as far as I know, I mean, of course, we're all mixed with something. I mean,
Mhm.
should probably go on ancestry or something, but
Mm,
unfortunately, I don't know much about my father's side.
mm,
Um, my mother told me that he is half um, American Indian and
mm,
something like that. And I could tell from my grandfather, definitely
mm,
from their tanner skin. Their
mhm,
skin is much tanner than mine. That makes sense. So I'm not really sure exactly, but
mhm,
I don't know much about it because he left when I was 10 years old,
mm.
randomly one day. So
So, if you don't mind me asking a question about that specifically,
yes.
I know you in the previous conversation we had, you mentioned that he had left abruptly.
Mhm.
Do you know anything that happened, or is it still a mystery for you?
I know that as a child, I of course didn't know about drugs then, but
Mm,
I knew that he had a recent surgery on his shoulder, something
mhm,
with his tendons, a pretty serious
mhm,
procedure that did cause him to become addicted to
mm.
Oxycontin.
I
Um,
see.
my sister and I were young, but we saw a change in his behavior.
Mhm,
And my mother, of course, she just told us that it could have been he woke up from the anesthesia a different person. We were too young to just hear that,
I see.
but we saw the difference for sure when he became addicted. And then he cheated on my mother. That was years later. I found out. I
Mm,
think I was finally 22 when she finally told me that.
mm,
She told me, when you're old enough to understand, I'll tell you, but not right now.
I see. So, how much of I mean, it feels like a dumb question to ask, but I feel like I should ask it just
Yes.
to hear your story from your words. To have that suddenly, that family setting just to be uprooted like that, how much of an effect did it have on you when you were younger?
Um, I didn't go to school for a few weeks.
Mm,
I was just kind of embarrassed, I guess,
embarrassment. Okay.
sad, depressed, like didn't I don't really know how to explain it. I really don't even know if I knew how I felt at that young. I think I was trying to describe it and figure it out. And
Hmm.
that's definitely what music helped me with. Like I said,
Hmm.
hearing about Michael Jackson, um,
Yeah, we were
always
talking about earlier how you found, I guess, a sort of connection with his music. Was that fair
yes,
to say?
it's fair to say that I have a very distinct memory. I had a Michael Jackson closet in
Mm-hmm.
my room, it didn't have clothes or anything in it. I
Mm-hmm.
made it into a cutout little clubhouse of Michael Jackson pictures that I printed off YouTube back in 2007 and 6. The best I could. And my sister and I sometimes we'd steal each other's pictures, and I still have them up to this day in my closet, and it says an apology written from Gwen. I'm sorry I stole your photo earlier. Like
Was that when you're no, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Anyways, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I remember when my father did leave, and Dangerous was the first Michael Jackson album I got. I didn't get Off the Wall or Bad or Thriller or anything. Not because I didn't want to hear them, but I just picked a random one. I was just learning to be a fan, and my sister picked a random one too, and she got Blood on the Dance Floor remix with History in the Mix, and I got Dangerous. And so her favorite era is History, mine's Dangerous. And one time I was in my closet playing the CD over and over again. Keep the Faith is a song on the album a lot of people don't know. And it saved my life so many times. I remember specifically crying at a young age in my closet listening to it. Just feeling so misunderstood, being bullied for being a Michael Jackson fan. I was bullied for being a Michael Jackson fan. I was called a weirdo for that. I was weird because I was so skinny because of my cystic fibrosis. I was weird because I guess I was really antisocial and awkward because I didn't know how to act around those people who already judged me. I was so scared to even cough in class.
I mean, you were dealing with so much already.
I was so scared to even, I would hold my coughs back in class, fearing that they would judge me off of that. Just because my cystic fibrosis in 7th grade, I feared that I would hold it back. And so my mother caught me crying in the closet to keep the faith. And she opened the door and she said, Jessa, listen to Michael, listen to what he's saying. Just always keep the faith. And that will always have a very big imprint. And he's always going to have an imprint on my heart with many songs, many things.
So going back to your, and we talked about this too, I still don't know what the proper term is, but I'm going to just use condition. Going back to your condition or your disability, however you want to categorize it. Can you explain what that is? And I know you already did, but can you re-explain what that is for someone who doesn't know what that is?
I'll do the best I can. It's different for different people because some people are sicker than others with this illness. And some people are healthier than others. So it's different for everyone. There's about 3 different mutations of the disease. So that's different as well. But I'll explain my experience. With cystic fibrosis, it's a lung disease I've had since I was born, a baby, diagnosed as a baby, Gwen and I both. And so I've been doing, my parents used to do physical treatment on my back and around my lungs for about 20 minutes until I got my vest, which I've done now since age 5.
Your vest?
A vest. It's pretty much a vest like what I have on now. Except,
which is for the audio videos. It's like for the audio listeners, it's like she has like a little cool jacket on.
It's pretty much a vest. Imagine a vest with tubes connected to each side of it, and it shakes the mucus out of my lungs.
Right, because it's a mucus buildup is the illness.
It's a mucus buildup in my body in multiple organs. My intestinal tract. I don't gain weight as a normal person. I don't absorb fat, nutrients, calcium, vitamins, all that stuff as a normal person, based on my illness. So I take 6 pills with everything that I eat.
Oh, wow.
As well as doing a nebulizer that is another breathing inhaling device for 10 minutes once a day.
That's the mask, right? That's the little mask.
Some people use it as a mask, but if you picture an inhaler, just basically with steam coming out of it continually.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Yeah, I'm asthmatic, so I had to use the mask with the big loud machine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a loud machine like that. It's a loud machine. Just some people use masks. Like if you're hospitalized with cystic fibrosis, you usually use a mask. But
so for people who don't know what we're talking about, essentially, it's essentially one of if you ever seen like it's like these plastic masks that have like two little holes in them, and then it kind of wraps around your face, and then it's connected to a machine, and that machine essentially gives oxygen. I mean, if they can just Google.
Or it's not, for me, it's not oxygen. It's something. It's medicine called Pulmozyme. For you, it was different because you have asthma, but for me, it's called Pulmozyme. So it just distributes medicine in vaporized form.
Yeah, it vaporizes the medicine. Yeah, I had that as well. Yeah, something like that. I'm not sure what it was.
Yeah.
But all right, cool. Well, cool. I guess it's cool that you're talking about it. Cool, not that you're going through it, but right. So then, music. So you act
I
and you sing.
forgot to mention my mental illness as well.
Okay,
if
well,
you want
you can
to
talk
go
about
into that
you can talk
as
about
well.
that. Yeah.
Okay, so it's when my father left, of course, I started pretty much having depression, anxiety, seeing a therapist. Then I basically got tricked very young by a therapist. Her name was Claudia, and I wasn't ready to see my father yet. He had just left me randomly, and I wasn't ready to see him. And I went to her randomly one day with Gwen, and she brought him through the back door and into the room without my mother's permission, my permission, anything. So I went through many therapists that I didn't trust for many years based on experiences like that, where I felt tricked into it, where it wasn't a genuine connection. It was like, what is this? More trauma.
Right. Yeah. I can't speak to why she did that, but I can tell you about how the relationship between the therapist and the client is important. Essentially, not to deter anyone away from therapy, but there has to be, you have to click with your therapist. Essentially, you have to get along with them. At the end of the day, they're just, they're a person too, and they have their style of therapy, and maybe that style of therapy isn't what fits for you, and then you need someone else who has a different style. When I went to therapy, when I was 22 to 23, and a little bit of 24. Was I a little 24? Yeah, a little bit of 24. 24 right now. I need to go back. But my therapist she would call me out, and I like that. But I know for some people, if you get called out the way that she would call me out, it wouldn't fit. So it really is about finding your therapist has to click with you, essentially. So I can't really speak onto why she did that. It doesn't sound ethical, but what do I know,
I understand
right?
what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, it definitely, that's how I feel with everyone that I work with. And whether it's my counselor, my psychiatrist who distributes my anxiety and my depression medication and all of that, my PTSD medication, all of that.
How do you feel about medication, if you don't mind me just a question? Because I feel I had a professor once who wasn't a fan of big pharma.
No, I honestly, when I was 16, I started my prescription on Xanax. So that would make that almost 10 years of me taking something similar to Xanax. I'm still prescribed lorazepam. And that doctor, bless his heart, he retired when I turned 18. He was a sweet man. He understood me. He tried to do his best for me. Back then it wasn't understood as well. And he also told the person he passed me on to how much guilt he felt that he had put my sister and I on these medications.
I see.
And
I understand.
I don't feel like he did it like
Mm-hmm.
vindictively, or he did it out of neglect. I feel like I also was abusing my medication at that point, so maybe I
Mm-hmm.
came off that I needed it also more than I did.
I see. Okay. Moving gears into, I guess, the situation with your sister. Would you mind
Mm-hmm.
talking about that? I know that from the previous conversation that we had,
Yeah,
that she wasn't involved in a DUI, uh, where she ran someone over, or could you tell us what the
I don't
situation is there?
I don't know if she directly ran someone over. Like I said, I
Uh-huh.
was not in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw the car again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't see the scene.
Uh-huh.
I don't know like what exactly
Happened.
happened. I do know that they were struck and killed by accident due to her
Uh-huh.
swerving off of the road at night. And
Okay.
um that night that was her second DUI. She regrets that so
Mm-hmm.
much. There's so many journal entries that I read and things that I've already read online
Mm-hmm.
of I I know my sister, and I know seeing her, there's no excuse for driving like that. There's no
Mm-hmm.
excuse for blaming me, and there's no
Mm-hmm.
excuse for taking someone's life
Mm-hmm.
like that over a selfish choice like that. Of course, and she knows that. And
Mm-hmm.
I cannot imagine how hard it is for her to live with that every day
Mm-hmm.
as is. And that's why I cannot hold resentment towards her. I cannot change her. I can only change myself and pray that she is growing, which it seems that she is. I talk
Mm-hmm.
with her daily. She reads very much so. She's going to continue writing music and books and so
Mm-hmm.
much more in the future. So
Mm-hmm.
um, we keep each other inspired. If
Okay.
I feel like she's not okay and she's close to giving up, I make her promise me before
Mm-hmm.
hanging up that phone that she is okay. And
So
it's the
that's a
same
deep.
with her.
You guys have a deep connection there. I guess I want to ask, where did I guess the love for music started with MJ, right?
Um, to become a recording artist, yes,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
inspire people through my music, yes. But it
And that's
started
and
with
that's both for you,
acting.
right? That's kind of the same goal for both of you.
Oh, yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
We have always connected through this exact same things,
Mm-hmm.
acting and community theater, obsessed
Mm-hmm.
with the Wizard of Oz from a young
Right,
age.
right. You mentioned before that
Yeah,
you were.
Music Man, all of that.
Uh,
We were in the Wizard of Oz for like 6 years in a row. Just and we would teach kids Michael Jackson songs. Last year we were in it. We were dancing with kids and they
mm,
loved us. They were begging us to play Michael
mhm,
Jackson so they could sing him. And it was the
mhm,
year he had passed away. So
mm,
um, it made me feel special that they were acknowledging that. And I guess that's what really made me say, wow, this generation needs to know who he is. They need to have someone
mhm,
like him.
mm.
So
Do you? Okay. So I lost my train of thought. um. So you mentioned before in our previous conversation that growing up was pretty tough for you. Not only did your father leave unexpectedly, um, not only were you dealing with the with your mental illness and having these medications, but you were bullied as well. So
mhm.
I guess my question would be what I asked last time was how do you cope with it? Is it just the music, or do you journal? Like, can you talk to us about
I
how?
would have to
What do
say
you what do you
my
what do you
whole
read?
life,
Yeah.
starting from a young age, to be honest, is I never learned a fully healthy way to cope with it. I started
Mm,
self-harming at age 13 because
mm,
I felt I deserved it. I felt ugly.
mm,
That wasn't a healthy way to cope. I stopped that finally at age 18, but I've struggled with drug abuse in my past. I've
mm,
struggled with other unhealthy coping mechanisms.
mm.
Just, and I finally learned. Sorry if my makeup's smeared. I just rubbed my eye. I'm
It's
sorry.
all right.
Anyways, but
Uh-huh.
I've learned better ways to cope,
Mm-hmm.
such as praying.
Mm,
I have found my faith, singing,
mm-hmm.
writing down my thoughts,
Journaling.
journaling basically,
Mm-hmm.
or writing a poem, writing a song,
It's actually
continue
amazing how
writing.
much writing
Yeah,
actually helps people.
exactly. I feel like it's one of the best ways to express yourself. It's how
Mm,
I've learned, it's how I became a huge Marilyn Monroe fan, reading
mm,
one of her books in quarantine.
mm,
It's how I became an even bigger Mariah Carey fan, just finishing her memoir. Like, the meaning of Mariah Carey, I read it, and it what she went through. I've been through abusive relationships. I went to court for it. I've been
oh,
molested by my best friend at 17.
wow.
I I always lived alone with my twin sister up until her accident in apartments, age 18 up until 22, 23. What I think it was 22 actually. Um,
Mm,
moved back in with my mom. Of course, I was not emotionally stable enough,
mm,
which I took. I was like, "You're right. I am not. I
mm-hmm.
can't be alone. Please." So I moved back in with my mother, and then COVID hit, and I've been here since, and it hasn't really been it's been painful
Tough.
to have a chronic illness, being high risk.
Mm-hmm.
I probably,
And of course, I mean, I can only imagine how much more painful it is when you hear. We were talking about this earlier, and when I don't think we need to get too much detail about it, but there
yeah.
was like some video or some TikTok, and they were just talking smack about you. So like, I can only imagine how much more like unnecessary pain that would cause you on top of everything that you're dealing with already. So
And I just wonder, it's just
yeah.
like, it's like, I wonder, like, I've, I've never made my publicity or fame or whatever you'd like to call it off of
Mm-hmm.
talking about other people and being hateful or nasty about other people. So I'm not really understanding of their point of view or understanding how longevity will last that way. I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to be hateful towards them. I just cannot understand
What the
from
point
their
of that is.
perspective how they make their popularity and fame and money off of pretty much talking about others instead of
It feels
doing
that. I
something
mean, I haven't
productive
seen
and
the video.
positive.
I haven't seen the video that you're talking about. I don't know what's on it. I don't really follow those type of things. I feel like that's just
Don't.
tabloid. I just feel like it's tabloid like bullshit.
It is. Yeah.
I've
That's why I
always
don't.
hated tabloid bullshit. Like I don't really
I
understand.
I feel like TikTok is the most toxic app. Honestly, I'm not getting it. I don't plan to get it.
Mhm.
They obviously hate me there anyways, so I'm just gonna stay away.
So, well, I don't hate you, so you're welcome here anytime.
Oh, thank
Um,
you, darling.
yes. So, what I want to ask you to kind of just wrap up
Yes.
this story. And I usually have a question that I ask people, but I want to ask a different question.
Okay, ask me anything.
So you have all this pain, you have all this shit that you've been through, all these hardships, and you're still here. So number one, thank you. Right, I commend you for that. Thank you for sticking around. As someone who was suicidal, who had suicide ideation, I know how hard that it is to stick around with all this pain
Sometimes
that
I
you
look
carry.
myself in the mirror and I am crying. I'm just saying, you know what? Maybe these people calling me worthless are right. You know what? I have moments like that, but they're only moments, very short moments. I pick myself back up and I try again. And I feel like you do that as well because you didn't give up.
Yes. I did not give up. It was there, but I didn't.
But you didn't. And that's the important thing.
Thank you. So of all this pain, right? How do you see yourself using your story? What is it that you want? What is it that you want to take with all that pain? What is it that you want to transform that pain into? Is it just writing? Is it just making music? Is it acting? What is it that how do you take this pain that you've been through, this terrible shit that you've just endured? What do you want to turn that into?
I want to turn that into inspiration to others so that others that have felt in my place can listen to something and feel that they have a reason to keep living and know their value, to be reminded of how wonderful and
Mm-hmm.
that they're loved and they have a reason to keep living, because I know that's what kept me living all these years. The love from my fans, supporters that have found me when my account got hacked,
Mm.
all of this stuff, they found their way back to me, and they've loved me through all of this, and that keeps me going. Their love for me, and I love them just as much. They don't realize that they are my sunshines every single day. And also music. I run to Michael Jackson. I
Mm-hmm.
watch Michael Jackson. I may end up crying when I'm watching You Are Not Alone,
Mm-hmm.
but but I can't keep my eyes off the TV sometimes, and I always will have that place in my heart. I'm grateful to have both Michael Jackson's autograph and Whitney
Oh,
Houston's autograph
nice.
now, as well as their tattoo autographs on my arm.
Mm.
So really, the only thing I ever wanted in life, I'm not really materialistic. I
Mm-hmm.
only really ever wanted was to, of course, when Michael was alive, to
Mm-hmm.
meet him and go to this is it,
Mm-hmm.
but that I couldn't do that. So my goal in life was just to get their signatures, and I've
Mm-hmm.
accomplished that. And I've inspired a few people, but I want to inspire so many more with my music, my story. Um, I'm always very responsive to my fans just to make sure they know I love them.
Mm-hmm.
I never want to seem like I'm like Miss Diva that's don't
Mm-hmm.
talk to me. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
too famous for you.
So tell us, where can people listen to your music? Where I know you mentioned in the earlier interview that you were writing a book as well, along with your sister. Both of you are writing a book. So and also you have an album that's coming out in June. So tell me all about that. So where can people connect with you? Where can people listen to your music? Where can people see the content that you produce?
Spotify right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 of my own singles released
Mm-hmm.
for my album. You can listen to that now. Just look up Jessa Furches. Um, the link will be in the
Yes.
bio.
Yes.
So
For all these episodes, all links to all artists or creatives will be in the episode description. So if you're on Spotify, just go click on, those little 3 dots and go to episode, and you should find it there. If you're on Apple, I think it's already up, etc. Anyway, yes, continue.
yes, so I don't want to release any more music. I want it to all be kind of like a surprise,
Mm.
because there's going to be so many different kind of songs, and I'm working with some very exciting people
Okay, cool.
on this album, and there's some very powerful songs that my idols have written about. Let's
Hmm.
just say it's time to make that change,
Okay.
and they don't care about us, and I'm tired of this tabloid junkie.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it's written in print doesn't mean it's the gospel.
Mm.
Don't believe it if it's don't judge someone unless you've spoken to them one-on-one or know their story.
Mm.
um you never know where anyone comes from. We can't see each other's feelings, so have sensitivity and empathy towards that. Feelings are invisible, And my goal is to have people comfortable enough, women, female, gay, black,
Mm-hmm.
white, straight, trans, Asian,
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic, etc., all of that, to be comfortable being who they are, as long as they're a good person.
Okay. Well, with that, links to her works and
My YouTube as well.
her YouTube will be in the description. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Jessa.
so much for having me. You are so wonderful to talk to.
Thank you.
I
Appreciate
hope
that.
I can
Thank you.
speak to you again.
Yes, I hope so. Stay in touch. Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I think that there is a certain type of power in sharing stories, and I don't know. I
Of
feel like
course.
a common, and I said this before in the previous interview, but I feel like there is a sort of power in hearing people, people how resilience, right? Hearing people who've been through so much and are still here to tell their stories. And it's even important to hear the stories of those who are not. So I think there's a power in storytelling. There's a power in that sort of connectiveness. There is power in knowing that you're not alone. So thank you for sharing your story.
You
Thank you
are
for
not alone.
thank you for sticking around,
I'm
and
unbreakable.
thank you for coming on the show. Um, Up next, we're gonna hear a small snippet of her at the time of this recording, which is the 22nd of February, of her new latest release, "Seeing is Believing," and we'll play a little short
Oh,
snippet of
okay.
that.